Sisko's looking for love in all the wrong places here on V'ger Please, a vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Move over, Beverly. You're not the only one banging ghosts anymore. Your co-host, Peter.
We've got announcements first, right off the rip. If you're listening to this episode, the day it comes out, there's a special treat for you tomorrow if you are willing to engage with the internet sufficiently to enjoy it. And that is on January 24th, I will be hosting a live watch and react to the Section 31 movie, which I think really is going to be the bottom of what they presently title Star Trek. I think we're going to get to experience the bottom, and I feel like that's a V'ger Please moment.
You're going to get to experience with the VHS board game called Beige. Okay, and by a special treat tomorrow, what you mean is like someone finding they stepped in dog poop and then walked inside their house on the carpeting.
You know what I do for a living. You know that's a treat for me. So the experience will be interactive. If you want to participate, join the Discord. Best way to do that is to email me at vgerplease@gmail.com or DM me on Twitter at vgerplease or at Intern of Doom. We had a problem with bots when we started putting up the link. So to avoid that, I try to just make people ask, just make the ask. You'll definitely get an invitation immediately. But please join us. It will be participatory. So everyone is welcome, not only just to watch, but to be part of the V'ger Please experience for, perhaps one of the very few times such a offer will be made. And it will not be in any way recorded. It is something you can only experience if you're there live. So January 24th in Discord, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to watch it. We're going to be there for each other together and see what happens. See, we're going to make the magic happen. I might get very drunk beforehand.
This is going to be like a Dave Chappelle show. Everybody's going to have to leave their cell phones in the other room so nobody can record anything.
Yeah, I mean, I did promise to be at 80% of my true power, so I don't think I need that recorded. And Peter is not going to be joining us, so I'm really going to need everybody to be there for me. You
should be there like a ring of Red Rover around Section 31, preventing Joe from going anywhere near this goddamn
Peter wants to have an intervention to prevent me from doing this.
I would be there to be a part of that intervention, but I know better, and I'm not going anywhere.
It's true.
I can't expose myself to this thing. I had my own Star Trek adventures, and I finished off the back half of Lower Decks Season 5.
Okay. Yeah, I knew you were spoiled for the ending, and we talked that over, but now you've kind of absorbed the whole thing.
Yeah, that part happened way faster, and it was much more of a blip than a lot of the articles had made it seem, where they're basically decanonizing Strange New Worlds. Like, it's there, and you see it, but it's not a focal point. The back half is good. I think they do a nice job closing out a lot of character arcs. The jokes keep coming. Speaking of Beige, there's a great joke on Kronos where one Klingon in a flying car cuts another one off, and the guy waves his fist. He's like, experience Beige. He's like, you experience Beige. I think my favorite joke out of the whole season is they're talking, the Billups is talking about maintenance something, and the rocks that they keep up in the ceilings on the bridge have been replenished. Whatever coating's on them, and then Ransom's like, I hate those. They always fall on my head when we get attacked. And he's like, no, but they're important because they help keep the so-and-so field up for the inertial dampeners under critical situation. So I got a real good laugh out of that, but
okay, like those are the best Lower Decks moments when they find the fucking micro joke that every Trek fan knows about. Yes. And they just hit it right on the head.
Mm-hmm.
It was that Voyager episode was like a million of those.
That Voyager episode justifies the existence of the entire series.
Yes,
That's
it
how
is the
good that
best
was.
episode of the series by a lot.
That was made for us, and I deeply appreciate it. But it was good. I enjoyed Lower Decks the whole way through. It's a good closeout. I'd say that it's a season worth watching.
Okay.
And if you end up catching it, maybe that's some Patreon content for us there.
Yeah, no, I'm in broad agreement there, Peter. We've done a little bit of Lower Decks content. Wouldn't be opposed to more, but I'm excited to do more of the TOS movies because we got a real fucking stinker to do next with the whole Genesis trilogy now behind us. We got Star Trek V to do. I think the people want that first.
We got to stick to the plan. I want to get into RoboCop, but yeah, I think we should close out the original series movies before moving on to the next gen stuff. Speaking of Genesis,
Yeah, a familiar little effect this week. What did we watch, Peter?
got the long lost cousin over here. Second Sight, Season 2, Episode 9. First aired November 20th, 1993. Written by Mark Garrett O'Connell and Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolf, and story by Mark Garrett O'Connor, directed by Alex Singer.
This is a interesting little character study of an episode, right? It's really not about very much. It's about Sisko still grieving his wife and what it's like to be a widower trying to move on from the love of your life having died. And okay, let's do some fun Star Trek sci-fi stuff to frame up telling that story. But it's a low stakes adventure. It is really just you kind of being cozy on DS9 while some stuff happens and Ben Sisko has to try and process his trauma. I'm not opposed to this. It was fun to revisit and look at it purely from the perspective of the progression of Commander Sisko as the show has gone on.
Yeah, he's got to replenish his rage bar before he can unlock Death Row Sisko again. Whipping the absolute shit out of Tim Russ really
Listen,
exhausted his stamina bar, so he needs some downtime here.
he's a man who hurts, but he's a man who needs to be healed. It's these fists pound Klingons in dust in ops, but they also want to tenderly caress a woman. I understand that. Starfleet Suge Knight, he needs to do both.
There's a better way to frame Starfleet Suge Knight, and we'll find it. What do they call it's the Delta, not a chevron. Yeah, this what did we do last week? Necessary Evil, that was
that was the Odo trying to crack his old case. Yeah.
Technor. Yeah, so here we are, we're in episode 9. We're backing off the meta plot, and we're starting to color some people in. And I don't know, have we really touched on Sisko as a character, as a deep character in season 2 yet, or is this his real first centric episode?
In season 2, let me review what we have looked at so far. See if any of these you would consider a Sisko focused episode. You've got the Bajoran Coup trilogy, which he's definitely not the focus of any of those. Invasive Procedures, probably your closest, right? Like he's pretty critical to that. Obviously, he's critical to the beatdown he puts on Tim Russ.
Mm-hmm.
Cardassians, no. Melora, no. Rules of Acquisition, no. So, and then Necessary Evil, no. So, if you want to count Invasive Procedures, that would be your closest. So, all that to say, yeah, this is probably his first episode of the season where he's the sole focus.
Well, he's due. Season 1 painted him as a very erratic, strange person. Season 2 has brought him in as a kind of a psycho. So softening him up and really starting to look at some of his trauma and reinforcing that family life is a good call. We open up with a great shot of DS9 from the outside, and interestingly, we see a Nebula class starship docked on the lower rings, which will
I knew
later.
you'd love that sexy Nebula class out there with its big old sensor array.
You know, I've never really been too crazy about the Nebulas because it was such an obvious kit bash and they always just look kind of smushed. They remind me of like s'mores. And that's not to say I hate them or anything, but it's no Excelsior. But as we've discussed heavily, these are reconfigured galaxies for the most part. And this is upper crust of Starfleet pre anti-Borg doctrine, right?
Correct. This is in the cozy Starfleet era.
This is a big old saucer, probably full of families. This is a exploratory vessel that can still pack a punch, but again, it's made out of these galaxy class parts. This is a big deal. This vessel being at Deep Space Nine represents a significant action or mission that Starfleet is investing in.
It's
And
just a projection of power, at least. Yes. I mean, it was Captain Maxwell's ship he was blowing up Cardassians with was a Nebula class.
the Sutherland, right?
No, it wasn't the Sutherland. I forget the name, but it was Nebula class.
Damn, what was it?
The Phoenix?
The Phoenix, yeah. These are big deal ships. This is right underneath the Galaxy class in terms of prestige. Captain Maxwell was very well decorated, very well respected, and that thing shithoused a lot of Cardassians. So it's a big deal, and whatever the reason that this thing's docked there is a big deal. And to keep talking about the Prometheus, I was very disappointed with the set dressings that they used for the bridge on this thing. Like
Aren't they the set dressings from Redemption Part 2 or whatever? Like the one time we've ever seen a Nebula bridge?
it's all built from scratch. Actually, I think they said, because surprisingly, the wiki on this was actually like the memory alpha
Reasonably sized.
was Voyager sized. It was consumable. Not a single piece of the next gen appeared in it, even though it's the same Galaxy class parts. It is a redress of the Excelsior Bridge from Undiscovered Country, which is interesting that that's still around, but I don't know. It felt community theater to me. Like it was too sparse, and for a show like Deep Space Nine that very clearly has enthusiasts involved in the production that like starships and talking about class names and all that other stuff, I thought they would have done something a little bit fancier, because this is basically the first Starfleet vessel that we have seen, like large scale, not a runabout or something, that we've seen on Deep Space Nine and seen inside, right?
Yes, I believe it is.
So that's down there. And we get the intro in that it's a 4-year anniversary of Wolf 359. So again, we're in season 7 of Next Gen, season 2 of Deep Space Nine, and it has been 4 years since Best of Both Worlds, right?
It has, and it's consistent with time, as you just stated, in terms of the passage of the seasons. And boy, I guess it's an easy date to remember. I'm sure the Battle of Wolf 359 is commemorated every year by the families of the thousands upon thousands of people that died on all those starships Jean-Luc Picard blew the fuck out of.
Deep Space Nine is going to give us looks at civilian life in the 24th century that Next Generation never afforded us. I know that. And it wasn't really until Picard season 1 that they went deeper and we saw like Federation News Network and that other stuff. First Contact Day and that one short trek, if we're going to consider any of that stuff even canon anymore. But it's interesting that, and again, unlike Voyager and to a certain extent Enterprise, I'm I'm going to take all of the choices in Deep Space Nine by the writers and by the production staff as literal and deliberate choices, especially when I'm seeing Iris Stephen Bear, because this dude's doing his homework and it's clear he cares. That there isn't like some sort of holiday or, flying the flags low or any sort of like moment of mourning that Wolf 359 could pass on a Starfleet installation under the
Unnoticed.
radar to the point where the guy who was involved in that just forgot it was even happening, you know? But this is all to frame that Sisko's changing. He's clearly carrying baggage, and he's not alone in it. And we get, I think, one of the best scenes out of the season so far, which is Jake having a bad dream and coming to talk to his dad. And man, the chemistry and the performance that you get out of Avery Brooks feels so good and natural. And I gotta think, man, like this has to be one of the best portrayals of a single black father and his son, and just great parenting in all of TV that I can think of.
It's strange to say that it might feel like the most grounded portrayal too, given the circumstances. Like this is literally a man commanding a space station in hundreds of years in the future, in a world of airy light science fiction. But
With a magic space butthole that opens up right next to him.
yeah, and yet I think about a lot of specifically black family dynamics and black single fatherhood and how it's portrayed in media. And yeah, I think this is the most grounded, interesting, authentic. Not only is Avery Brooks able to just masterfully handle being in his element in these scenes. Let's let's give a shout out to Sherlock Lofton as Jake Sisko. He's a young guy at this time. I don't want to call him a child actor anymore. He's clearly a teenager, but he's not a veteran, right? He's not done this his whole life. Like you can see Avery Brooks. I don't know his life story, to be honest with you. So I don't know if he has kids. I don't know what he's been through. But at the least, I can see exactly where he can find a way to connect to this story through personal experience, right?
The compassion is there and it's tangible.
Right. Like he's lived enough life where as an actor, he can tap into that, right? Find where he's supposed to be emotionally in a scene like this and dial it in so that he can portray something very subtle, very nuanced, and very real to the viewer. I can expect that from an actor like him, and he's very good. But Sherlock Lofton, like, he doesn't have that to draw upon, and he's got to find a way to like. He's having a bad dream because 4 years ago he almost died. Right? He was a kid. He didn't really necessarily understand everything that was happening, but he was on the ship when it got blown the fuck up by the Borg when his mom died.
Yeah.
And he's articulating his trauma in the way that he can because all of this is still difficult for him to process. And he manages to do that too. Like if he's not in the scene being able to do what he's doing, you're not going to get what Sisko's doing. I agree with you. It's probably the best scene of the season so far, and speaks to the maturity of the show itself, that it takes the time to continue to develop the relationship between the two of them.
I'm coming to Deep Space Nine for cool Star Trek stuff. I'm going there to see what the bridge of the Prometheus looks like and talk about Nebula classes. And while I am there for that, I am not expecting to have A+ family drama that I end up enjoying more. And we talk about in Voyager, Kate Mulgrew's bread and butter was soap opera TV. And anytime she had a chance to kind of like get away from the technobabble and start touching like Space Mark or
Workforce 1159 even. Like
anything that
she clearly enjoyed doing that episode more than almost any other.
But even in that, like when she would be in her element in these like drama situations, it would feel like I was watching a soap opera, and she was
Yeah.
doing good, right? And no notes for her, but it still felt soap opera-y. And what I'm seeing here with this scene between Jake and Sisko does not feel daytime TV, and it just feels genuine and good and meaningful, and I love it.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It feels real. Let's stay on this Jake Ben Cisco arc because there's another scene they have later which I think is a little less impactful but interesting, and that is kind of when you know Commander Cisco's strange ghost girlfriend starts to show up, and Jake tries to make sure he tells his father it's okay if you're in love with someone. It's like
Well, first
you're
of all, he diagnoses out of thin air, and he's like, "Are you in love?" And that like catches Sisko flat-footed. He's like, "What?"
I'm sorry, my son. What are you? What is this? I mean,
Well,
Jake has got game, man. Remember, Jake came to his dad after he'd
Jake's
already
got a coach on the
landed
team.
his date, looking for advice on where to take her. Like I don't need you to land women anymore, Dad. I can do that. I'm helping Nog land women. I'm
Mm-hmm.
Cyrano de Bergerac over here. But maybe you can tell me where I can take her on a date.
Now, Nog gave him the 3 rules of how to spot someone in love. And I like that Sisko pivots from being stunned that his son has correctly assessed that he's got girls on the brain to being fucking pissed that Jake is hanging out with this dropout, which he knows that he was because he caught him teaching him how to read in the cargo bay or whatever.
Very true.
So he can't be that upset. He was proud that his son was doing it. Was still kind of hanging out with Nog and coaching him, but very big of Jake, and it was a nice kind of like they capture these moments where it's like Sisko's so involved with keeping the space station from blowing up because of whatever nonsense this paycheck that like he's kind of missing parts of Jake's life and being surprised to see how far along he's moved in the absence, right?
Right.
Jake's dream, by the way, that he comes out to discuss with Sisko, which is about being on the station, but the station seems slightly off, and all he wants to do is find his dad, and he can't find his dad, and he's going through the hallways trying to get back to their room, and he can't get to their quarters, and somehow he ends up on ops instead, but his dad's not in his office, and I'm like, hold on. You got to stop being a dad here for a second, and you need to put your thinking cap on, Benjamin, because this is sounding less and less like a dream and more like a season 1 episode of Deep
Jake,
Space Nine.
I need to know if any Joe Dirt people have been wandering around the station.
Son, let me get my tricorder. I need scans. Because there's probably a 45% chance that wasn't a dream and you were stuck in an alternate reality, or it may have a telepathic parasite or something. You know how it is, son. You got to be sure.
So Sisko starts to wander the promenade a bit, and he's ruminating over the loss of his beloved wife. And as he's out looking into the stars late at night with the station quiet, who should he hear but as a voice of a woman? And he turns around, and indeed, a very attractive, dark skinned, somewhat alien looking woman is before him.
Space elf.
A bit of a space elf. Did you recognize the voice of this actress, sir? It might be recognizable to you.
I didn't, Joe, because I was busy picking my jaw up off the floor. This is the prettiest, sexy space lady I think I've ever seen in anything Star Trek related. And man, they hit the mark on finding somebody to completely sap Sisko and take him off his game. What's her voice
She's
from?
gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. The actress is named Sally Elise Richardson. She is drop dead amazing looking. I would say only the hot Israeli Mako from
No.
season
Mm-mm.
3 of Enterprise ranks higher, but she is uh, incredible looking. She's also famous for a voice role. She is Detective Elise from Gargoyles, the basically the human main character from Gargoyles. So the Gargoyles Star Trek casting pipeline remains quite strong, but this time in
Very
reverse.
strong. Very, very strong.
So
You know,
her
I was never a Gargoyles guy. I know it's like basically everybody's second paycheck from Next Gen minus Patrick Stewart, but um, yeah, I just
Detective Alyssa, rather. Her name's Elise, but yeah, I knew it was something close.
just dumbfounded by how pretty this lady was. So she's there in this classic like Star Trek skin tight bodysuit. It looks like the same one that Tasha Yar's maybe sister was wearing when she was camel towing over Data back at the fucking
It is a reused costume, apparently. It got
something
used a
with
couple different
Barkley.
times. Yeah,
It's a good
it
one.
got used for 2 other times in Star Trek. It was Barclay's seducer in Inside Man, Leosa. So remember that Voyager episode where Barclay had a, a paid for girlfriend that was leaking secrets,
Oh yeah.
and then was used in Star Trek Generations, and then Middle Distance from like the woman that Kirk was after in his Nexus stream. But
Well, she can be my Nexus stream. She comes up, she starts talking to Sisko, wins her over, and then she pulls a Batman and just vanishes off into air after some very cryptic statements about always running, not knowing where she's going, and seeming as though she was vaguely threatened by some external factor.
well, this brief meeting, boy, it puts a pep in Cisco's step because the next day he bounds into ops. He 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 playfully asks Chief O'Brien if he's on a repair job or a maintenance job, and right now it's maintenance. 5 will get you 10. It'll be repair later. And he seems pretty happy. He does not get coffee in the morning.
So the
Instead, he gets
Rakachino, is that a Ferengi drink?
in his Klingon coffee.
Hmm.
And instead, he goes for some tea with some lemon. And boy, Major Kira, you can tell that she is becoming somebody more familiar with Starfleet protocol because the moment she sees deviancy out of the commanding officer, she's on top of it. It's like, I'm sorry, you always get coffee. Are you a clone? Are are you secretly a Romulan? Are you an imposter? I
I
need to
read
know
the
more. I'm going to
morning
interrogate you.
I read the morning briefing report. Your son was caught in an alien mind maze. Now you're acting suspiciously. Sorry, Commander. I'm going to get Julian up here to relieve you from duty on medical grounds.
Before Kira can get much satisfaction out of Cisco's change in attitude, he does get a call down to go to the science lab by Jadzia because there's a visitor there who's wanting to meet him. Peter, I love this guy. It's Professor Sechik, and he is apparently a world famous terraformer. So his job
Galaxy
is
Federation famous.
yes, and he is both incredibly egotistical and very charming at the same time. He just loves attention, but he also puts on a show and all of his words. He's always very performative in everything he's doing. And it leaves an impression. I love this guy and I wish his story flowed a little bit better through the episodes. I feel like they gave him really good intro and they gave him really good ending, and the stuff in the middle didn't necessarily jive quite as well.
So we go down to the science lab, which we have not seen since Jadzia was in there doing like mind fidget cubes or whatever, right?
It was, yeah, I think it was I remember seeing it when If Wishes Were Horses, because she and Bashir were down there trying to figure out why, there's a sexy Jadzia trying to fuck Bashir.
Yeah. Okay. So this
But
is
I
a
don't
reuse
know
set.
if we've seen it since then.
They've put some love into it, I think. It's looking better. They installed the new seizure room.
They did, yeah. Look out! There's about 20 seconds in this episode you're not going to want to watch if you got
I
epilepsy.
looked
Jesus.
away. I was like, "What the fuck is this? Why is this on
Yeah.
TV? What
Yeah.
in the Pokemon intro is this?" So they've got this seizure room that's just a bunch of strobe lights and some sort of flux capacitor Chernobyl situation going on in there. And this Professor Satchek's in there, SciTech, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, he's going to die." And I like it as an intro because they frame these terraformers, and we'll later find, well, actually, we don't really find out. It's mentioned in the memory alpha that the terraforming technologies that he is using are derivative of Genesis technology. It's not
Correct.
Genesis per se, but it is extrapolated from lessons learned and some of the technologies in there. But like the door to this reactor opens up and he's got his radiation suit on or whatever. And I'm like, so whatever bad, there's no airlock. It's just the door opens up. He walks out along with all of the gamma radiation or whatever that's going to turn someone into the Hulk. Everything you're saying about this guy is correct. I don't know. Is the actor famous for anything else?
Good question. Let me look this up. Richard Kiley? Yeah, this dude's been in a million things. I mean, he's a deceased, but yeah, he's a well-known character actor for 50 years or whatever. He's a guy, all right. He was somebody who his, let me put it this way, he has a headshot in his wiki, his Wikipedia entry that's from like 1960.
See anything else that's Star Trek?
Star Trek wise, no. This was his only thing he did, but yeah, this man's fucking stage and screen list is intense. He's got Emmys, he's got Tonys, he's got Grammys. Jesus. Golden Globes. He did it all.
Well, he does a great job with this character for all the reasons that you listed, because he should be insufferable, and instead, the charm is there. He's got a great screen presence. And the entire time I'm watching, this guy's singing his own praise. And he's just reinforcing that, like, this guy is a genius and he's using his intelligence for the greater good of the Federation. I know that dark days are coming with the Dominion War. And it's like, in the back of my mind, it's like, what good could this guy be doing? Right? Like, this is a clear commodity. Everybody dislikes him, but like in Next Gen, when you would have these eccentric, smart super scientists who they would always ultimately be like villainous and murderous and deeply fucked on some level, like the Schizoid Man and some of these other people that, had to die because they were doing nefarious shit. Whereas this guy is just...
Professor Gideon's in it for the love of the game, man. He loves this shit. He loves being famous for it, but he also just loves doing it.
Right. And he's good at it. His speech about, like, I've only failed once and I decided that I didn't like it and I'm not going to do it again. And I always keep my promises. Right.
I mean, you just like, you charming son of a bitch. Yes. And the fact that Kira doesn't like him is actually the least believable thing about the episode. It's like he does nothing on screen. It isn't like, yeah, no, keep going, buddy. You're fucking entertaining. Bashir's right. Like,
of
you're
all
fun.
The people that she's been around that have been miserable, this is the guy she takes issue with. Like, she's able to come to terms with the charming farmer that wouldn't leave. And she's able to come to terms with, the guy who pretended to be a death camp commandant. And she's able to come to terms with, but like, oh no, this guy that's, reigniting stars and custom designing worlds. I like them bragging about the waterfalls. Like, like a father talking about children that he's brought into the world. Just great stuff with him. But his character arc is that he's getting up there in age, even though he's not like, bad makeup old yet. But he's worried about not being able to top his own legacy, because the job that they're there for and why the Prometheus is there, again, this top of the line Starfleet science vessel, right? This isn't some buster ass O'Berth. This isn't some old crusty Miranda. They got a Prometheus escorting this leading Federation mind around. He's going to go to Epsilon 119, which is a dead star, and they're going to reignite it and basically rehab an entire solar system.
Probably the magnum opus of any terraformer. Let's do a star, right?
And this is the first time this is being attempted, and he's confident it's going to happen. And what's he going to do after that, right? Seems like it's kind of idle conversation, but
turns
ultimately,
out it's not.
it's going to be the reason why this guy fucking commits suicide.
So Jadzia is the right character to have to deal with him, right? Like, she too is kind of a acquired taste of a person, so she has to handle Professor Gideon as Sisko continues to ruminate on his encounter with the extremely fetching space elf from earlier. He's staring out, I guess, the window again when suddenly, who should show back up but the same space elf who calls herself Fenna. Once again, Sisko is very much interested in her, wants to talk to her, staring deeply into her eyes, I'm sure nothing else. And once again, she just suddenly has to leave for some reason. So this mystery is continuing to build, and it becomes more and more suspicious to you as the viewer, and suspicious to Sisko as well, as she seems to show up, charm the fuck out of Sisko, and then leave. So
red flags everywhere, okay? Because beautiful fantasy women disappearing into thin air and other acts of magic. Well-known tricks around this station. The space Buckies, the Flying J right next to the perpetual leaking butthole of doom.
Yeah. I mean, to his credit, he starts to, he asks Odo, like, hey, who can you find this woman for me? She keeps like appearing and disappearing, trying to investigate a little bit what's going on.
Crazy. Hey, I'm hyper competent death row Sisko, who is ruthless in my interrogation of all matters around me. And I'm going to Odo saying, I need a personal favor. I'm looking for somebody. I have zero details. All I can tell you is her skin color and how tall she is. And that's it.
She's humanoid.
Yeah. And at what point I can't even tell you she's got space elf ears because I wasn't looking there. And at no point does snarky Odo go to snarky Kira and go, he's acting real strange, like real strange. And he's asked me to find he's real absent and like scatterbrained. I think the Cardassians got one of those Frankie mind control devices, or something's very wrong here, right? It's not just me.
Maybe he's too busy trying to find this like weird felon or whatever. He's like briefing a security officer.
I love that scene.
Yeah, just a little bit like shit's going on. There's a criminal. He's gonna find him. He's got like
short range telepath. Yeah. Stay 10 meters away from him as soon as he's there. Like,
there's a plan.
Great Odo world building.
Yeah, he's competent. He's got a staff. He's got plans. He knows how to deal with unique situations. And after Sisko asks Odo to try and find the guy, he rolls back up into ops, and Dax wants to speak to him in his office and is like, hey, buddy, I know you well. And you are in love. You have found a girl. You are very interested. I know that look in you. And it's like Sisko's, a little defensive, doesn't want to talk about it, but it's still wearing on his face. And Jake noticed, of course, So his best
Well,
friend, reincarnated in another person, is also noticing. And Jadzia comes across with a great line. It's like, no, I get it. I get it. I get it. You used to when I was Curzon, you were happy to talk man to man, but I'm a woman now, so you can't talk man to man with me. That's it, right? Like you don't trust me in the same way. You can't commiserate with me. Just a big smile on her face, just giving him shit. And it's like that's exactly what Curzon would do, right? Like you can see it. Like you can see how it's working out. Like why they're still friends. There's a lot of who Sisko was friends with present in Jadzia. It's a little different. If she's pointing out, like, I am different, I am a woman now, maybe that's why you don't feel like you could do this, but I'm still going to give you ration of shit for it because that's what your friend would do.
he doesn't want to discuss, or he won't discuss anything with her, because I think he already realizes that he has strayed into unreasonable, that there are a lot of red flags, that he is being played and can't or does not want to admit that to Curzon, because it would be fully admitting it to himself. That
Right.
there's too much strange going on here, and maybe he's going crazy.
It's funny you
Uh,
said Curzon there.
well, that's because I'm thinking lower deck. Curzon actually is
Yeah, it
in
shows
lower.
up in Lower Decks, I know. But
Oh, look at you spoiling things. Uh,
Jadzia, though, is channeling Curzon quite specifically in this scene. So it's like, it is not even really a Freudian slip.
again, I think Jadzia could be a part of this conspiracy with Kira and Odo about like shit's fucked up.
Someone looking into Ben. Like, this is weird.
She should have walked out of that office and off to the side, but like, okay, I did like we talked about, and I talked to him about it, and I don't think he's being alien puppeted, but something is afoot here. I like that. Well, it's not until later, but it's acknowledged that they go back to the Dax episode that Curzon is a willful and self-admitted homewrecker.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Which is
She's a married woman. That never stopped Curzon. Like, yeah, we know, bud.
yeah, that was not only did it go poorly, but it was a boring episode too. That they openly flaunted, again, given the Berman era morality on adultery is bad. So,
Well, Jadzia isn't the one that committed adultery, so I feel like maybe
well,
that's why they
she's
can
still
joke about it.
standing crimes for it and also
Yeah.
willing to die for it. So, potato, potato. Jump to the point where we finally get onto the Prometheus because, Sisko's playing this Tom and Jerry game with Space Ghost Fenna, where he takes her on a tour of the station. Really cool shot of one of the upper docking pylons where you get a pretty view. Oh, we should do a picnic here, and we're going to have plans, and this is nice. And Ben, I'm glad that there's not like a huge space dilemma, and that we could have, nice close time to each other without space hillbillies trying to drag us into the sun or something. But she continues to display this trait of running away, if not flat out disappearing, which, it's after the meeting they finally. So, all right. Hey, we get summoned down to the Prometheus to what's his face's quarters, and we're gonna have dinner with it. So it's
Professor Gideon is there. They're gonna have dinner with him. It's Julian, Kira, Jadzia, Sisko, and
O'Brien.
O'Brien. It's all the senior staff, and his wife makes an appearance, and his wife, of course, is a woman that looks exactly like Fenna. So the mystery has continued to develop.
Sisko's looking at her like, "Yo, you're not even gonna acknowledge me." SciTech keeps kind of rubbing everybody the wrong way for the most part, bragging about stuff. Meanwhile, Sisko's like just staring at this lady, and they go to move over into the other room, and Sisko hangs back to help with the dishes and confronts her, and it's like, you could have told me you were married. Commander, I don't know what you're talking about. And, she sells it well until Sisko mentions the name Fenna, which kind of catches her off guard, but she further deflects, and, the mystery is afoot.
So the next day, um, you know, Sisko's kind of meandering around the promenade again. Quark makes his appearance for the episode. Quark has helpful advice. Commander, why don't you just bang it out on one of my dirty holosuites? That's what they're there for. It looks like you're lost, that you've been stood up, that you need companionship. Unfortunately, I can rent it to you.
Very insightful, because by the end of this, we will find out that, thirsty Sisko is over there lusting over a being made out of pure energy and light. And correct me if I'm wrong, but is that not a photonic being?
I believe they are, sir. That is correct. Arguably more real than Fenna, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But, again,
we got a real bartender Michael situation going on here.
Quark, though, ever helpful, ever delightful as he makes his appearances, however small in some episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, not long after Sisko gives up and heads back to his quarters, Fenna should arrive again.
Quark, real quick, I think this episode would get the award for the least felonious appearance of Quark. Like, there is zero crime that he is involved in. And that might be a TV series first.
Well, so he hit the pain spray recently, so while the 4 stars are off, they're blinking, right? So if he commits any crime while it's blinking, it's the 4 stars are back on. So he's got to cool it again.
Necessary Evil.
He wasn't dirty.
He stole the fucking. He just got shot and almost died. He's taking it easy right now, right? He's on he's using PTO from crime.
It's true. I'm on break.
Nothing like a
criminal activity right now. My brother almost inherited the bar. We can't have that.
If you'll recall, he got shot by the Kablamo gun.
He did. He got blown across the room by the Kablamo gun. He got shot harder than anyone's ever been shot in Star Trek, but yet somehow lived.
That Bajoran had a gun that shoots city buses. Dragged him down the fucking street.
Took a fucking hole out of his chest. He was so shot, dude. He was so shot. He was the most shot.
There's the Veron T disruptor that disintegrates people as slow as possible, and then there's the Kablamo gun, which throws you 20 feet back like it's your football training dummy.
Pulls a full gaping chest wound that can somehow still be healed.
So yeah, he's taking it easy, and rightfully so. There's also a meeting with Odo in there where Odo tries to circle up and say, "Hey, that guy you gave me that lady gave me no information on," and Sisko's like, "No, I know who it is. It's the lady on the Prometheus." And then Odo's like, "It's impossible because nobody has come over except for Professor Sidetech," which seems surprising that you're going to be docked at a Starfleet starbase and you're not going to let any of your crew go over there. Like, what is the reputation of Deep Space Nine where a top of the line science vessel is saying nobody go over there? I don't care.
They're on a top of the line Starfleet vessel, okay? And what is Deep Space Nine? It's a rickety old Cardassian bullshit station. Like, hey guys, do you want to leave your comfortable Holiday Inn Express holodeck having cozy Starfleet wonder vehicle to go visit the dirty Pilot J where you can get hepatitis in the goddamn bathroom and maybe a doom level will break out? And they're like, nah, we're good. We'll stay here.
To be fair, everybody on the Enterprise was very excited to go to Deep Space Nine. Beverly, because of the famous holo suites. Worf, because terrorism and attempted murder is okay. And I think this just speaks to how buster the crew of the Prometheus actually is. Like, jump it back over there. Do we even see a captain, or is
no, it's some lieutenant who's in charge, like, lieutenant junior grade.
What?
You need like the night shift dude? Like, what's going on?
Delta
Are you the Harry Kim of the ship? Do you get to come in the ship once a week? Little guy, little fella,
Mr. No Presence. Who was that guy?
I barely recognized he was there And I remember looking at his collar. I'm like, really? This is the dude who's in
You
charge?
can't
This
even
is the
give me a
man?
fucking lieutenant
I
commander. I
wouldn't
got
put
this
him in
guy.
charge of a team of accountants. Like, who is this?
Who is he? Because I want to look him up. I'm going to predict that the guy who is the actor is the dude who's usually a Nazi. You know what I'm talking about? The one that got B'Elanna
Oh
pregnant?
yeah, Nazi guy. He was like Nazis all the time.
Where's
We
this
looked
guy?
at yeah. Hold on, let's see.
Commanding Officer Pearsall. Mark Erickson. Come on, come on. Oh, damn.
Is it his only role?
It is. Oh, I'm sorry. He is a lieutenant commander. This guy sucks.
He still sucks. He's still zero presence. You're right.
Can't even get a fucking tractor beam working.
He's Canadian. Fuck him. Fuck him.
There's not a lot to discuss on this episode once
Yeah.
things really boil down. So here's the deal: is Psytech brags he's had a lot of wives. This one has stuck with him, and he foreshadows that she is loyal to a fault, and he doesn't know why, but he does because these space elves, they mate for life. And unfortunately for her, she was so starstruck by him on his terraforming trick that he did on her homeworld that she married him and off to the stars. And she seems very conservative. And I think they kind of like try to put some like traditional Indian bride, like Eastern Indian bride in there with like her sash and the way she's dressed.
They definitely went for Orientalism a bit, just a touch to justify the space elf mating for life thing, right? Like they don't try to go in depth, but they give you some clues, some cultural visuals to make that work.
So she's got some sort of psychic abilities, which I thought the episode was going to bend into that this guy was a fraud and that his rampant runaway successes are all a result of him somehow misusing her psychic abilities. That's not the case at all. Again, it's just a fucking once in a generation mega mind. And she's not happy. And her coping mechanism is that she astrally projects fantasy characters to vent her frustrations. Fenna is a known character to Psytech, and that when Fenna is around, whatever real lady's name basically starts dying. And the relationship that Fenna has established with Sisko and her escapism has anchored or is going to come to anchor her to a point where it's going to kill the real wife because she's so miserable, which not a real good feel-good story.
No. Interesting though that she's trying to escape an unhappy marriage through a role-playing mechanism using her psychic powers. Like, let's face it, Peter. You and I, we have a bit of experience with all escapism, perhaps being used as a crutch to maneuver around difficult parts of your own life, even relationships. We've seen this in our own lives and with people we know. And it definitely helped me connect to what was going on. I can understand it better because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
now I will say none of our experiences have been with a woman even a tenth of as beautiful as this. So this is still,
I don't know,
an interesting direction.
We're married, I would say I had that experience with a woman as beautiful as that because I did marry her.
Look at you with those brownie points just racking up.
She doesn't listen to the show anymore, but it's still true.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, the episode's not about that. They just establish this is what's happening, and everyone's like, okay, cool, which is the right move, because then you get to solve for this problem, this much smaller problem, and you've got Sisko who's like, I got to find a way to fix this. Fixing this requires me to deny what I want, which is being with this person who's not real and try and return her back to the person who is, so that that person can live, so that you got that whole self-sacrificing Starfleet ethos coming into play, showing Sisko as a man of character.
It's also an easy decision because, as they find out, if the lady dies, her astral projection also dies. So this is a no-win happiness situation for Sisko.
Very true, but it did remind me a bit of a decent episode of Strange New Worlds from season 1, when Pike has his like ex flame that's from the planet with the golden throne that murders children. And like,
Gruesomely. That was a real...
yeah, that was when you thought that show might be good, like pulling tricks like that. And that his eye came off the ball, right? He started to think about himself. He started to think about maybe how he could be saved from his ghastly fate that he know awaits him.
Mhm.
And then terrible things happened, right? This is Sisko's eyes on the ball. I'm not going to allow a ghastly thing to happen. I'm going to do the right Starfleet thing. And as he resolves that problem, he returns to the Prometheus as it is preparing to launch Professor Gideon's experiment, but only to find out that Gideon is in the shuttlecraft with the star bomb on it. And he has found his own solution to the problem, which is, well, if my wife mates for life, if I'm dead, she's released from her unhappiness and she won't die from trying to literally escape me spiritually. So
Also,
clearly,
this Klingon poem, The Fall of Kang, what was the line there? Like, don't weep for whatever, weep for the guy who kills all his enemies, right?
correct. Yeah.
Great use of Klingon culture. That whole framing of the Klingon poem, like, excellent. Of course, Lieutenant Commander Dipshit, who I don't know what fucking Starfleet Academy he went to. He must have went to one of the branch campuses.
He was in ROTC. He was in Starfleet ROTC. He just wanted to get a free college tuition, did his 4 years of leave, and he's serving his bid.
Everybody else is, real highbrow shit. This guy's like, what is he talking about? Again, not being able to escape your own legacy. So this is kind of a twofer for Psytech of he lets this woman he deeply respects and loves off the hook, and also seals his own fate and gets to go out on his own terms. Sisko, get on the phone with HR Starfleet. Get a goddamn counselor out on that space station right now.
Oh, now we know what our skit's going to be. Like, next time there's a chance for it.
You've just had one of the brightest minds in Federation, one of the most ridiculous, ludicrous suicides. I can't tell you the last time we saw a suicide on Star Trek, especially one that like no one really even lifts a fucking finger to stop and just kind of stands back and like salutes as this guy suicide bombs a fucking sun and sets it off. Like, pretty rad death. Don't get me wrong.
Let's be real. If you're gonna go, that seems like a pretty fucking cool way to go.
There's ways I think they could have bent this plot where this seems less unhinged for everybody involved. Give this guy some sort of a terminal illness. Make him old as fuck. Give him some dark crime or history that he's trying to atone for, but like, I'm unwilling to divorce my wife and I fear a professional rut after this big accomplishment that maybe a vacation could also fix. Who knows?
I mean, I prefer to think of it as him like feeling like, okay, I'm literally going to kill my wife because I can't divorce her. They made for life. She can't leave me. Okay. Well, this is going to be my biggest professional accomplishment. So I don't know. Maybe let's kill two birds with one stone. All right. Let's make sure my wife can live. And also I'm going to reignite a star for the power of science. And literally, it's like, you know what? I'm also going to monologue to everybody as I careen towards my death with cheerfulness that I already wrote my own obituary. Please just transmit it off to the Daystrom Institute for me. I didn't want to leave it in lesser hands than mine. Update it, mention my heroic death for science, if you don't mind.
Star Trek is a TV show about finding loopholes in legal situations. All right. And I fully believe that having just gotten Dax off of his death sentence, or Dax off of Jadzia's death sentence, when Sisko's, what do you tell Kira? I want to know the truth, but if it doesn't say what we want it to say in the laws, we'll find a way to make it seem that way anyways, right?
Correct.
I have to believe that the crack legal team of Deep Space Nine could have found a loophole to get this lady off of that. That, again, this suicide just seems unhinged and so out of left field and jarring, and what a massive loss to Starfleet and everybody who's involved that is now going to have to file a report and say, yeah, we let this guy kill himself instead of worrying about a divorce. Like, Lieutenant Junior Grade Pearsall, you are in some deep fucking shit, sir. You and whoever over there can't figure out how to fix a goddamn tractor beam. Give me a plot element where they have to scrub the mission because they're unsure, or something where this guy being like, I want my work done and I'm willing to sacrifice my life to see it done. Not, yeah, we're going to remote control this shuttle in there, but I'm just going to go instead.
Yellow.
This crew
I'm just going to yellow it. Yeah, it's cool.
This crew of the fucking Prometheus sucks. They have to bring over O'Brien and Dax to try and like up their warp from, what was it, 9 to 9.5. Who is your chief engineer that he's over there getting cucked by the transporter chief for a starbase that doesn't even have warp drive? Like, what the fuck, man? That's
basically where the episode ends, though. The real version of Fenna comes and speaks to Sisko, but has no memory of the interactions that she had with her fantasy version of herself. And Sisko has to wistfully let her go. Like, she was just like you, but not. And our boy Ben, he's still alone, still looking for love. He's still looking for someone out there. He's ready, though. Like, that's kind of what the episode is about. He's ready to move on. His son's ready to move on, and maybe that'll happen for him. Spoiler alert, it does happen for him, and it's pretty cool.
Real Fenna coming up to touch base with Sisko. No tears. No fond remembrance of her husband. Just, hey, I wanted to say goodbye before I left now that I'm, unmarried.
Yeah.
And I've decided.
Thanks for that, by the way, I guess.
Thanks for allowing my husband to kill himself. That genius he was. Hey, hope you guys weren't going to need him in your upcoming grueling war of hell. What was Fenna like? Oh, she was a lot like you. Okay, I'm not going to say goodbye. Something her and I have in common. We just turn around and leave.
Vanish.
I like the stuff with Jake a lot. I like getting to see a big Starfleet vessel. I like all of the character development they do with Sisko, but all the stuff around the plot resolution on SciTech is whack. And just the whole thing boils down to how are we going to save this lady's life? Well, you just delete the husband.
What a title.
Yeah,
like what a title. Happy to make use of it.
Just delete the husband. He gets to be a notable death, I guess, in the scientific community, as everybody involved takes a huge black eye and a loss. Yeah, listen, so what has Deep Space Nine killed so far? They killed a space pope.
Kind of. The space pope's still alive, just stuck on planet Mike Emintrout.
Okay, they killed a leading Federation brain. Who else has died over there?
Let's see, who else has died on? Well, I guess someone was cloned on accident and lived.
Several assassinations, some of which botched.
That guy who got stabbed in the chest by the assassin who was there to kill Quark, we never found out if he died. Let's assume he died. He probably died. He did get stabbed in the chest.
The guy who killed the Cardassian fake death camp.
That's true. Well, no, that guy killed a guy, so the guy who was Maritza died.
I think we need to start a VIP list of kills that have happened because of Deep Space Nine and see just like how much oops blood is on Sisko's hands.
What are we watching next week, Peter?
Sanctuary. A group of refugees come through the wormhole in search of Kentana, their fabled homeworld. But they're going to play a game here. Are these guys assholes?
This is one of many episodes of season 2 where there's still a few of the old playbook lingering around of like, we're just going to kind of do one-off episodes that don't have a tremendous amount of connection to anything else, right? We're not to the truly serialized version of the show yet. So it's not oops all bangers quite yet here on Deep Space Nine. And, this is the first of several, I think, in a row where we will have more material to work from, I think. Let's put it that way.
Fluff, the fluff years.
Well, we do love fluffing all of you and our audience. Okay. Phrasing. We're not doing phrasing. As always, connect with us at VegerPlease on Twitter. You can email me at VegerPlease@gmail.com. Join us on Discord. Join us on Facebook. Like, share, subscribe the show wherever you can, wherever you're willing to, wherever you wish. We always appreciate it. And as I said, if you are listening to this the day this episode comes out on January 23rd, tomorrow, January 24th, special live watch and react to the Section 31 movie. Come join us.
Joe, I'm looking at pictures for this next episode. These aliens look disgusting.
Oh, no. Are they
these
secret assholes?
Like no, these guys just look like they're covered in some sort of hepatitis or...
Okay, let's save it. We got to save it. Ugh. See y'all next week.